Something I've always wanted to ask you, I'm going to ask you now. The day of triumph for Hamilton, the Tony Day, Orlando happened. And you came out. I'm very curious what that day was like, for first thing. And then, in newspapers, we always laugh at award shows. We sit there going, shut up, get off, enough, thank you.
Yes, I've been to your
goodbye.
press rooms.
Right? We're a tad irreverent, you might say. And you came out and you said, love is love is love is love. And I remember thinking, and I'm not blowing smoke, I'm really not. I remember thinking, how did he manage that? How did he perfectly encapsulate what everybody was feeling at that moment and what the theater, I get verklempt talking about it, what the theater represents to people in moments like that. And here was your day, and that was what you were faced with. And I thought it was one of the most admirable things I've ever seen anybody do at a talk show. And so, how did you come up with that, Lin?
Here's the reality. I woke up that morning at 6 a.m. We went to the Beacon Theater at 7 a.m. It really was the Hamiltonies that year. We were in like 5 things. So I had to be there first thing in the morning. We had to rehearse the opening number, which my cast appeared in and which I appeared in. We had the interstitial, because we convinced them that we should do like a ham for ham type thing on the bumpers to commercials. So I had to rehearse with Steve Martin and Andrew Lloyd Webber. I had to rehearse our actual number, the world turned upside down into Yorktown. And we had, in case we won, we were going to perform the Schuyler Sisters for the closing ceremony. So we had to very superstitiously, secretly rehearse that as well. So I'm basically in show mode from 7 a.m. to about 1 p.m. all day. Don't really even have time to look at my phone. I'm in costume. I hear the news as I'm leaving the theater. I pick up my phone and read what's happened. The reason it was in my thoughts is that I hadn't written a speech. I hadn't written an acceptance speech for anything. I thought, all right, I'll have between 2 p.m. and the end of the day to write whatever thoughts are in my head, and sort of that'll be what I bring to the podium if I'm lucky enough to win. And then this thing happens. The worst shooting tragedy in our nation's history. And the victims are all Puerto Rican, and they're all... it's in a gay club, and, the theater community doesn't exist without the gay community. They're the same thing. And the first thing I get is a phone call from Tommy Kail saying, I don't want to be doing a number where we're waving around guns tonight. So we take all the guns out of Yorktown. Just because that's not the image we wanted to send into the world that night. And then I'm alone with my thoughts, and I knew I was thinking about my wife, I was thinking about my child, and I could not stop thinking about what had happened that day. And it's sort of when you're, I don't want to say this in a way that sounds wrong. My job is to musicalize moments and meet the moment as honestly as I can. And sometimes the moment is presented to you in real time. And so I couldn't imagine freestyling about this. I needed to look for some kind of different form to express it. And so I thought, okay, this was going to be a love sonnet to my wife, but it's going to have to be about more than that. And so that's sort of what happened. And I had written "love is love" on there. That's a phrase that's been constant throughout the LGBT community. That's not a new phrase. But then I just kind of felt myself pounding it home as I was saying it, because it was almost as an incantation against the morning. And that's all I can say is when you write musicals, you're trying to meet the moment honestly, and I felt like I had a duty to meet the moment as honestly as I could with what I had in me.